What's good, fam? It's Brian, and I'm back with What's the Business. On What's the Business, we talk to business owners to figure out what's the business with their business. On today's episode, we're remixing a former episode that we had before the rebrand. And so what I'll do is I'll throw it to the intro, and then we'll bring on the guest here in a moment. Talk to you in a moment. Peace. All right, so we're back. As you can see, I'm flying solo. Brandy has some stuff that she's taking care of, and so right now it's just me in Studio 3, the spacious, wonderful, glorious Studio 3 that we moved into earlier this year. We have my boy Les. What's going on with you, bro?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm doing good. Doing well today.
All right, so we'll condense the nonsense, jump right into it. So, Les, tell us what's the business with your business.
All right, so I am LesIsMore Productions, LLC. The name LesIsMore is just a play off my first name, which is Leslie. And I had a cousin who used to call me LesIsMore a lot. And so when I started my business, I just took that, and that's how I got the name. My website, of course, as you see, is LesIsMorePro.com, and that's where you can go to see all of my work. I primarily deal with web design, logo design, anything dealing with print. I design a door hanger, stars, all type of things. And there's some other little side things I do, but my flagship is design, and and I dig into the tech world a lot as well. So
all right. All right. And so I guess the big question is, because I know we discussed this the last time we did this, but let's give them a quick summary of. So let's talk about how you got started.
Sure. Yeah, so basically, it's kind of weird. When I was in school, and of course, we graduated Jackson State. Let's go. Yeah,
all right.
I graduated from JSU in '99 with a degree in computer science. And at the time, I really wasn't into web design. At first, it was really more like hardcore programming. I learned a whole lot of programming languages in school, and I was going to be like this computer analyst guy. Some things didn't quite work out because I didn't want to, where the jobs were, I didn't want to relocate. And so what I did, I taught high school for a while.
Okay.
And so from 99 to 2007, I taught high school. But during that time, I knew that I wanted to, I was always creative and artistic. And so I knew I wanted to go into something else because teaching just wasn't for me. And then I got stories about that.
Go ahead. So, give me a story.
I may have told this one before, but, for example, I was, I had to break up a fight. And in the midst of breaking up the fight, I had a kid who hit me in the jaw. And it was almost like, it wasn't that it hurt, but the kids, kids could be brutal, man. And so here they are talking about me getting hit instead of like, still saying, Mr. Howard, are you okay? No, it was like, man, you got stole on, man. What's up? So I'm getting made fun of because I'm trying to break up the fight. And so it was one of those, awakening moments for me, because you already tired. You get to work, and it's early in the morning. I'm trying to get myself ready for the day, and these kids are already at a level 10, ready to fight. And I'm like, what kind of life is this? Break up a fight at 7:55 in the morning?
Right. Like the coffee got through my system, and now I got to fight a child, man. What is this?
Yeah, man. I'm like, this can't be life. So anyway, there are other examples, but that was the one that really had me thinking. I had to rethink what I was doing. And so pretty much I taught for 7 years, I think, my last 3 or 4 years, I was setting up my business on the side.
Okay.
And so one of my boys, he's like a big time gospel producer, and he had a lot of connections. So what happened was I did a website for him. I think I charged him something, like 500. At the time, $500 was a lot of money to be
Right.
making, especially making on the side. And I did that site for him, and man, really, it really kind of opened up some doors for me because other people that he knew across the country saw the work, and for this to be like my first major website, uh, it was pretty sweet. And so next thing I know, I'm getting calls from people in Chicago, this and this and Atlanta, and it got to the point where my business was making just as much as the teaching job. And so once I saw that, I was like, okay, this is real. And so that's when I decided to jump out. So I mean, I'm. This is a very, in a nutshell, story. There's a lot of other little details and things that happen, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Well,
that's how, in general, that's how it happened.
and I think it's kind of goes because we're both followers of Chris Dover at the Future. Shout out to the Future. Shout out
Yes,
to
sir.
the Future podcast, dropping gems all the time on the air. And one of the things that he mentioned was, especially if you are starting out and especially in the creative space, but pretty much any service kind of business, you're starting out, and you have the dream project come along, but they ain't got the budget for it. Consider it a marketing expense, create it, do your best on it, and then use that to trade up into other jobs.
Exactly. Yeah,
And-
and that's what you sometimes that's what you have to do to get started.
right.
Like I said, I did that when I did this site for my guy. His name is Stan Jones, by the way. Just give him a little shout out. Um, like I said, it was $500 at the time. That was good. I mean, because I was just getting started. I really didn't have a lot of experience in web design. I mean, I did some in college, but you got to remember, I graduated in college in '99. So
Right.
the whole web space, it was still in its infancy, so to speak. And I mean, I had just recently gotten an email a few years before that. So when you think about it, it was everything was new. I was just learning. I had to read. I was reading these thick books on how to do basic web design, all this crazy stuff. And but it's just one of those things. I was willing to go into it, and I started where I could start. And that one project just created a domino effect. And it still took a little while for me to really get my bearings and know what I'm doing. But I I will be always grateful to Stan for the opportunity he gave me. 'Cause he could have gone to anybody else that was proven.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, but like to your point is that, sometimes when you start off, you have to do those projects where you just say, it's a marketing thing. Let me just use this to roll over into my next thing, and
Right.
and then you just go from there.
Well, I want to lean into that a little bit because we're talking about the genesis, the beginning of Less is More Productions. And so, what was the biggest obstacle you had starting your business, and how'd you overcome it?
Well, of course, I mean money. Uh, See, the thing is when you get started, I didn't get started with, hey, Les, here's $20,000 in capital. Go buy your computers and buy the software you need, all of this stuff. So one of the biggest obstacles I had was funding, because I had this old computer, but I really it wasn't suitable for what I wanted to do for my business. So I had to uh, the first real computer, which was a Sony Vaio. You remember they used to make Vaio
Oh yeah.
back in the day. Like I said, I buy a lot of Sony products, and so it was a nice Vaio, but I had to get it on credit, and
Oh
so you know it was that type of thing. I didn't have, I think that laptop cost $2,000, and I didn't have $2,000, but I needed I needed some stuff, some gear. So I was doing it. I was using credit cards or any type of promotional thing they had. They said, hey, you can get this laptop for $50 a month. I think that's how I got that. It was like 50, maybe $60 a month. Um, and I just decided to just I didn't have the money for it, but I said let's just get it on credit. So funding was a big thing. And then just pretty much finding my groove, because you get started with something, you still don't know what you're doing. I mean, technically, I knew how to build a website, but how to deal with customers, how to talk to people. I didn't really have a lot of clientele, and so cold calling a few people I knew, those type of things, and then then I learned a big lesson that families and friends, you can't depend on them.
Right.
Because you would think, at the time when I first got started, I was thinking, okay, I'm starting this business. I got some family, I got some friends. They got businesses and they got stuff going on. I know they're gonna hit me up.
Uh-huh.
At least y'all me a few $100s to help me get started. No, no. I mean, if anything, they all wanted you to do it for free because
Right.
you are family. And I'm sitting up here like, I'm just getting started. I don't have any money. How can I do this for free? But everybody wants something for free, or they just totally ignore you or think, you're not good enough. And then I've had a few to even go to other businesses to get their work done. That kind of hurt a little bit. And so it was just one of those things. It was just a hard lesson. So those are some of the obstacles I had to get over at the beginning. So and then yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's free game right there for the audience, yo. If you're starting out as a business owner, I need you to right now write down all your friends and family, make a list of all your friends and family, and then just start crossing their names off before you even start. Because if that's who you're going to depend on to get started, you can ask them for feedback. You can ask them if they're in an industry that will benefit yours. You can even ask them for price ranges and stuff, and how much would you charge for this? How much have you paid for this kind of stuff? You can get input from them, but if you're looking to make that your primary source of income, you're going to be in trouble. So you might as well just uh, cross that off and start figuring out ways to make other connections with people,
Right.
because that's not going to be a viable way to get started unless you got family that has invested in businesses before,
Right.
um, you know, and they're really there about the foundational stuff. I strongly discourage you from thinking that that's going to be, your circle of people and friends and family is going to be the people that are going to sustain you from a business standpoint, because it's not going to happen.
Right. Especially, and I would say, especially at the beginning. Now, I will say, and I don't know if this some type of psychological thing or not, but as you advance and people see that you are getting a little status, especially if you start doing some, because I've done some work for some people that are kind of well known,
Uh-huh.
then they look at you a little different.
Right.
And that's what it would take. Like, oh, you did it. Hey, Les, man, what's up, man? And it's like, okay, what was this energy at first?
Exactly.
That whole Mike Jones scenario. now I'm hot.
It's one of those things where I feel like it's you when you don't have any of the scuffs and scratches and stuff of experience on you, and you have no social proof of whether your stuff actually works. They
Right.
kind of view you as an existential threat to their pocketbook. You get some of
Yeah.
that on you, and now you're not. It's not a threat, and they don't feel obligated to pay you as a family member or a friend. They're hiring you for a service, and there's proof that there's actually something in the background. Now, as a marketer, I can tell you one of the dangers is you have to be very transparent about and what their expectations of your product or service is, because if
Yeah.
they're coming in with these wide expectations and you don't know that their follow-up system is trash, like if their follow-up system is awful, I could set up whatever system I want to, and just because it worked over here, well, over here they had a great follow-up system. On this other side, they don't really care about clients that don't return, so they never follow up with them.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
so that's one of the dangers specifically. But if you check off the boxes and you look like you're not a threat to them, they'll do business with you. But even though they love you, you're kind of a threat to their pocketbook, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's kind of I kind of thought of this scripture, not to get into that, but it says that no prophet is without honor except in his own country, and
Right.
so the meaning behind that is a lot of times people become so familiar with you, and that's the main thing. It's like, oh man, I know Les. I mean, man, I babysitted him, back in the day. He, all this type of thing. So they're so familiar with you, they don't see you in the same light as somebody in New York that doesn't know you. They're just looking at you as business, and this guy's good at what he does. They don't know your history, you
Right.
know. And so people who kind of know you and familiar with you, that old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. So it's that whole thing. And so I
Oh, yeah.
think that's a big part of it. They and so that's why, and I had to be careful with that even when I started my business, was that even when you deal with people, make sure. I mean, you want, people say, yeah, I want to have a relationship. I want this to be bigger than whatever. But I'm real careful. I used to dive into that. Yeah, I want to have more than just a business thing. I want this to be a partnership. You can't partner with everybody because
Right.
as they become more familiar with you, it in turn may turn into a disadvantage for you. Now they really going to lean into, hey man, we boys. Like what? We boys already? And now I need that boys discount.
Right.
All type of things. And so you have to balance it. Now you do want to have good relationships with your clients, but I would I would watch, getting to the point where they get to know your wife and your kids and all that
Yeah.
stuff. That's just me. I mean,
I feel you. I feel that one. And I think one of the things is I was going to save this for a private podcast, but I'm throwing it out there in the universe, y'all. If you're a business owner and you're doing business with other business owners, um, if the budget makes sense and the services look right and they're going to suit your needs, you can negotiate, but don't try to lowball somebody and don't try to, take advantage of if you have a prior relationship with them.
right,
Pay them full freight because
right.
I almost believe I don't really do the karma thing, but there is a level of karma to it where if you're dealing with somebody who tries to lowball everybody they come in contact with, regardless of quality or proof or whatever, um, it seeps into other elements of their business and it shows.
Mm.
Cheapness shows in other elements. I have a specific example that I will not go into, but uh, if you don't want to pay for adequately for a service, it will poke out other places in the client's journey, and that's a reflection on you. So if you want to, try to lowball every business owner that you come in contact with, regardless of whether you have the money or not, I think it does reflect inner cheapness in your offering, and that's
Right.
just kind of, I hope that makes sense. But for business owners, pay other people for their work, pay creatives for their work, pay other people for their work. Make sure they're compensated fairly, and don't try to just lowball everybody that you come in contact with because it ain't cool.
Yeah, because you could gain a reputation for that. They'll see you coming. When
Right.
the reputation precedes you, you like, oh, I don't know if I want to deal with that. And I'm fortunate that I can turn down people like that because at one point I had to take everybody that I could grab my hands on, whether they were cheap or not. All right, you need that for 50. I guess I'll do it for $50. Okay,
Right.
And what happens is, it's something I heard Magic Johnson say on a YouTube interview one time. He said that it takes him just as much work on $1 million deal as it does on a $100 million deal. He
Mm-hmm.
said just as much work. And, relatively speaking, I took that to heart. I said, man, that makes a lot of sense. So he said when his phone rings, if it's not a $100 million deal and up, he don't even answer. And he's on that level, so it makes sense.
Right.
I think it's good to apply that principle because believe me, I have worked just as hard on a $50 logo as I have on a $600 logo.
Right.
Same amount of work. In fact, the person that was that I did the $50 logo was pestering me more than the others. So they were the one hit me up all the hey, you got that ready yet? What's going on? Can you change that blue to a cobalt blue? Like just all type of stuff. And I'm like, man, I only got paid $50 for this. So
$50 ain't worth this, bro.
Say it again.
$50 ain't worth all this, bro.
No, man. It gets to the point where you're like, man, I could have been at Burger King.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Shoot.
Oh, by the way, if anybody out there listening has any $1 million deals for myself or Les, go ahead and send them our way. We are not don't have to have $100 million.
Right.
$1 million deal would be beautiful. We'll take it. I don't want to say no questions asked, but we might ask you what your name is and a bank account number just to verify.
That's about it. Let's go.
So we were talking about the formation of your business, and after this, we'll take a quick pause for the calls. And this is kind of a two-part question. So we'll answer both parts and then go to a break.
Okay.
What's the best business advice you've received? And flip side, what's the worst business advice you received?
Ooh. Best business advice. I would say the best advice I've received is pretty much stay with it, stay consistent through the ups and downs. Keep going. I don't know who told me that, but I got it from somebody. It's because especially when you get started, it's hard. I mean, I guess some people got it easy, but I don't know. Most people I know that have something worth anything, they had to go through some hardships to get there. A lot of valleys, a lot of, which bill am I going to pay? Mm-hmm. I've been there. And I'm not afraid to tell people, it got real for me a few times. And like I say, just to get equipment and all this stuff, I had to, use credit cards just to get anything. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting things on credit, but I'm just saying it wasn't like I was in a situation where I had some money and I was using credit to my advantage. I didn't have anything, and I really didn't know how I was going to pay even the notes, pay the little, fees. I didn't really have a lot of extra cash on. And so the best advice I got was, even through those hard times, keep it going. Keep going. Worst advice. Let me see. The worst advice I've ever received before. I don't know. This wasn't really advice, but I've had people who didn't have anything going on for themselves, but they wanted me to join in with them. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's advice, but it's more like they saw the talent, they saw what I was doing, and they wanted me. Like I had this one guy, some cat from California. He was dealing with some tech stuff. This was back in 2008, and at first, it started off with him wanting me to do a website for him, but it ended up he so-called wanted to buy out my business. And I was like, so basically what he wanted to do was so-called, he wanted to have complete ownership of LesIsMore Productions. And basically, I work for him. Everything I do goes to him. I get a percentage.
Wow.
I get a percentage of the work that I do here's the thing. He didn't have any money. Like, let's say even if I wanted to entertain that, at that point, I probably, maybe I probably would have sold LesIsMore at that point for $100,000.
Right.
He didn't have it. That's what I'm saying. I think he had like a few $1,000s. I'm like, dude, so I'm gonna take, let's say it's $5,000. I'm gonna take $5,000 a day for the perpetuity. I'm just gonna work for a percentage of what I'm already making.
Right.
That don't make sense to me. I could make the 100% right now. Why am I gonna do this for 40%? So like, I don't know if that advice, but that's just, I think it was just stupidity,
Yeah,
So,
you get away from that. That kind of stupidity is that's infectious. That's contagious. That'll get on you, and you can't. Like, so let me get this straight. You want to rope me into a digital sharecropping deal?
that's what it is. I like it.
Sharecropping deal for a couple thousand bucks and make a percentage of what I'm making now, so that you can have a business in your portfolio? Are you serious?
And so he gets all the benefits of the work I do. He doesn't have to do any other work. Now he's just making bank.
Right.
He's just waking up the checks. And I'm sitting up there like, what? And so, and you know what? I had another situation. This guy, he didn't want to buy my business, but he started his own business that was similar to mine.
Uh-huh.
But he wanted me to be the primary person to work for him, and that wasn't. I hope I'm making sense.
Right.
But so, he started his own design company, but he wanted me to be one of his main designers, and I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense to me either, because what he was offering to pay me for the work, again, okay, it's additional work, but I'm not getting paid. I'm only getting paid a certain percentage for what I'm doing for him. So
Right.
now I'm spending too much time on somebody else's stuff, getting pennies on the dollar, when I could just, again, now if I was in a situation where let's say nothing was coming in at all,
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't have any clients and I was desperate, maybe I could entertain it. But for where I was like, it's not a good deal. I'm already busy. I could
Right.
just keep working and make 100% of my money. But he was trying to find a slick way for me to work for him. And again, he doesn't have to do anything. I work, do the stuff. He get his, he was trying to get a lion's share of the deal too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get 55%, I'm getting 45%, I'm doing all the work. I mean, it just didn't make sense. So, yeah. Again, I don't know, is that the advice? I just know it was a bad idea. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and I think it goes into, you're literally adding a middleman to your bit. Like, why would
That's it. I like that.
Why would I add a middleman that's not, now if you're 10xing what I could normally do, like if you're 10xing, like if you could bring in clients that are paying 10 times what I normally can bring in myself, then yeah, maybe we could work out some kind of contractor 1099 kind of thing that we sort out and we chop up, or you hire me as an independent consultant and I'm on team,
Right, there you go.
And we could put the handoff tax in there and stuff like that. If you don't know what a handoff tax is, you need to be listening to Chris Doe.
Right.
But we could figure that out. But he's like, so what I'll do is I'll make my own company that does the exact same thing you do, and then hire you to do the work and pay you less for the work you're already doing, and then I get all the money. That doesn't. Right. Oh, that doesn't scan. And I know it's wild, because a lot of times, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of times I find that with rookie business owners, people that really don't have they don't really have a viable actual business. They might have a series of hustles, like series of side hustles, and that mentality of always looking for the next hustle, the next way to come up, the next way to shorten the chain between the work and the money. It feels like that's what that kind of is. People who are professional side hustlers step into you.
Yeah, I think that's what he was, because to be honest, I'm not saying this about all preachers, because I grew up in a family of preachers, but he was a preacher. He had the kind of same vibe as the guy that got robbed, or so-called got robbed.
Yeah.
He was that type of dude. Because I kind of learned some things about him, about some other stuff he did.
Right.
And so he's somewhat of a charlatan, and this I know. I found that he did another design or something like that and owed people money, and it was one of those things where I dodged the bullet.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't do business with him because I probably would have got messed up. But you got to be careful with those fast talking. Like some people that's just smart enough to sound like they know what they're talking about, and they can talk fast. And if you don't watch it, you'll be in a situation where you get all messed up.
Right.
So
talk you right into it being a co-defendant. You sitting up there next to him like, bro, what's happening? Hey,
real talk.
We ride together, we die together. Like, hold on, bro. I don't know you like that.
We die together.
So, all right, what we'll do is we're going to take a quick pause for the cause, and then we're going to finish up. I got a couple more questions. Really, the next piece is going to be specifically about LesIsMore Productions and really diving into that. And so, if you're interested in Les's services, you could see I have the website on the page. You got I have the website there. You need to go check them out. But if you're interested, we're going to really get in to start chopping this up. So we'll take a quick pause for the cause, and we'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to edit this part out. So this is kind of the break. What I'll do is I'll throw it back to the little intro video that popped up or whatnot. And this is the opportunity. This is the piece where me and you are going to really define your brand. Okay. And this is going to really be about getting the market message that you want out there about your business. And so your ideal client, who your dream client is. When we say ideal client, think who's your dream client? Who's the person that you want to work with the most?
Right. It doesn't have to be anything specific. You're just saying in general.
Yeah.
Or okay.
Gotcha. Or you can go as granular as you want with it.
Okay.
I believe in that, where you clearly define exactly who you want walking in the door, so we know exactly, so they can automatically identify, okay, this is a fit for me or not. Your unique sales proposition. I think your unique sales proposition, per our last podcast, is in lineup. You're not hiring just a web developer. You're hiring an artist. You're hiring a designer. Yes. This is my canvas. I'm going to create something that is moving and inspiring to me. And hopefully with the conversation and connections that we have, it'll be moving to you. Like something along those lines, where you're not just getting a website, you're getting a tailor-made platform, like a suit. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
You're not just getting a logo, you're getting something that represents your brand and will carry your brand for decades to come. Right. And so, something along those lines. And so this is going to be this is actually the marketing piece of it. The stuff we're going to chop up for like marketing stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I got you now.
All right. So I'm going to play this little clippy thing and we'll get on to it. All right. Oops. I clicked the wrong. All right. Okay. What's good, fam? Thanks for sticking with us. If you're one of the people that skips to the middle of a podcast, you don't know. This is Brian. What's the business? On What's the Business, we talk about what's the business with everybody's business. Our guest today is Les, who is the owner, CEO, creative director. What other titles we got for you? Visionary, head visionary in charge of LesIsMore Productions. Pretty much almost like a full service digital promotions company. Like you do everything. You do websites, logos, print media, t-shirt design, stuff like that. So there's a lot of different facets to it. And so I want you to actually take this time and tell us, who is the perfect client for you?
Perfect client. So basically, I can just start in general. Number one, the client has to know what they want without being overbearing. I don't know if that makes sense. You know, I like a person who has that balance, so they can tell me what they want, so I can do my job. But at the same time, I don't want them to micromanage
Right.
what I'm doing, because I feel like if you knock on my door, so to speak, you did it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You saw something I did. You heard something. So maybe somebody close to you say, "Hey, go to this guy." Uh, so half of the battle on my end should already be won.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have to prove myself at that. I mean, if you knock on my door now, if I come to you unsolicited, that's different. But perfect client, they know what they want, but at the same time, they're gonna let me cook, let me do what I do. Um, Also, I mean, honestly, perfect client need to have some money.
Right.
I mean, just to keep it real, you don't want to deal with somebody who's coming to you and say, hey, we talked about this a little before about, hey, can we break this payment up into 5 parts? Because I've done it. When I first got started, I try to work with people like that,
Mm-hmm.
and try to chop it up in these payments so that they can get the service. But something always goes wrong with payment 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Something's gonna go wrong.
Right.
And so, and I could get into that a little later because I'm actually dealing with something right now. Um, and so, they have to have some money, um, and then also have all your stuff together, because even if you know what you're talking about and you have money, if you don't have your content ready to go, that's a big problem too. The worst case, and I know this is going to sound weird. The worst case of this, I had a client who she paid. She actually, I think she paid. Well, she paid like the deposit, whatever. And I said, okay, cool. And I'm thinking we're gonna get started. She said, well, hey, let's give me a little time to get all my stuff together. Now I'm thinking this is going to be a couple of weeks or so.
Right.
It's fine. But even a couple of weeks could throw me off. But I said, okay, that's fine. Uh, it ended up being 5 years.
Ooh.
I mean, and I'm not making that up. It ended up, and so what happened was I told her, because it's kind of weird. I'm like, 5 years. I mean, I might not even be alive. I mean, you know what I'm saying? How
Right.
you
I might not remember who you are after 5 years.
right? I mean, that's wild. You think I know who you are. I did remember her, but I'm just saying it's just wild to think. She didn't even reintroduce herself.
Right.
She sent me, I think she tried to call me at first because I didn't recognize the number. So she emailed me. She said, I'm such and such, such and such. I'm like, oh, right, right. Yeah, back in 2011. At this time, it was like 2016.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, man. And I had to look up stuff. And I told her, it just had to be done. I said, look, in order for me to work on this project, we're going to have to start over.
Right.
I know you paid some money, but it was 5 years ago. And it's like one of those things. Like if you get a payroll check, like a physical check, they always say it's void after 90 days or something like
Right.
that. There's a reason for that, because money circulates, and really after 90 days, that money could be gone, or they using it for something else. So they give you a limit because they don't want people coming up years down the line talk about, yeah, I'm paying for that business may not even be in existence at that
Right.
point. And so that's why payroll checks work like that. So yeah, so that's pretty much what my client, people who don't do things like that, they got their money, they know what they want. They're not going to be overbearing on me. They're going to let me do what I do. Um, because if you hire me to do the work, obviously it's something about what I do that you like. And
Right.
so let me do that thing. One of my pet peeves is when someone hires me to do a job, but they show me, not that, it's one thing to show me something because, hey, I kind of like what they did, but to the point where they want me to do exactly what this person did, the whole style. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why don't you hire them?
Right.
I mean, if you like their work so much, and I've been in a situation like that because everybody has their own style.
Mm-hmm.
They do things. And I work better when I don't have to, think about every little step along the way. And so um, I hope I answer your question, but basically that's the type of client I like, the people who, let me do what I do. They got all this stuff together and, they got a couple of dollars in their pocket.
Well, and I think it's we're gonna let Les cook. We're gonna let Les cook on
Let
that.
me cook, man.
If you go to a restaurant, you ain't pulling in if you go out to a restaurant for a fine dinner, right? Let's say you go out, you order a bowl of gumbo, you know what I'm saying, maybe some catfish or whatnot. You out in town, you eating good, right? You sitting at the table. Do you get up from your table, walk back to the kitchen, stand over the chef's shoulder and be like, hey, you put a little salt in there. Hey, grab a bay leaf and throw it in there. Hey,
Right.
that roux ain't dark enough, man. You ain't darken that roux enough, man. It's not, do you go and try to coach from the sidelines when you are getting a meal? Well, if that's the case, you might as well eat at home. If you can do all that, if you have that level of knowledge, that granular knowledge, and you can't allow somebody else to create, you pay them to create, and then you won't allow them to create. If you can't allow them that space, if you can give them the guidelines where you can say, catfish, gumbo, make this happen in front of me, bring it out. You create it your way, and hopefully my taste aligns with what your style is. If you can't do that, I don't know if you're ready to be in it looking for a creative person to do stuff for you. Because a lot of times when you ask a creative person, you give them an outline of what you want. They are going to ask their questions. They may ask for a couple of references, reference points to say, okay, so this lettering here, this is what it looks like, or I need the aesthetic to look like this.
Right.
And then if you're not comfortable, if you're at a point where you can't separate your dollars from your control of the situation, Les may not be the person for you, because that level of trying to coach from the sidelines, you could actually end up hampering your product, because at the end of the day, and I might be speaking a little bit out of experience, but there are design standards. There are design standards that are contemporary. There are fonts that kind of reflect, how current the style is and stuff. And sometimes your recommendations may fall and make make the product look dated from a design standpoint. Even sometimes from a readability standpoint, you may be in love with this curly Q looking little font, this little cursive looking thing. Can't nobody read that on your site. We don't know what it is. Is that a signature? Is that the name of your? So those kind of calls, I would almost say, if you're dealing with some, because and we're going to get into what Les's unique proposition is, what he's uniquely doing with this business. I probably should ask that first, but this is kind of what we're saying to y'all. It's one of those things where, walk in with your appetite, walk in knowing what you want to eat. But you don't get to dictate how it's prepared. You get it how it is. And if you don't like it, you can always go somewhere else.
Right. And that happens a lot. And, even I've been in situations where, I design something and it looks good. In fact, it initially looks good to the client, but then they show it to their cousin.
Yeah.
And their cousin all of a sudden has more to say about this project than I do. Mm-hmm. Their opinion matters more than, I thought I was the expert, so to speak. I showed it to my cousin, but he said And I'm thinking like, okay, what type of credentials does your cousin have? Yeah, he did some stuff back in the day. I'm like, you know, and so those type of things happen, man. People are pulled. They let a lot of different things influence them.
Right.
So, and they bring it to you, and here you are, the person they hired. Now you got to make some bad calls and decisions on your design based on somebody you don't even know. Just
Right.
looking in the shadows.
So when somebody comes to you, and I talked about the commoditization and other stuff on other podcasts or whatnot, but for those that don't know and you haven't listened, if you're a commodity as a service, right? If you're a commodity, that means that people can literally go get your service anywhere.
Right.
So you can drive down the street. The ultimate commodity players like Walmart. If I can find it at Walmart, it's a commodity more or less. And so, the idea is you want to establish what makes you unique and different in the market. So what's the thing that what's the special sauce? What's the thing that makes you different than everybody else doing, the same kind of work?
Yeah. For me, I think it's more of my style, artistically speaking, and we mentioned this before. Um, I do consider myself an artist, and so everything I create, I try to bring a level of artistic integrity, if I can use that. I don't know if I sound like George Costanza, but anyway, to all of my work. So when you see it, it's not just, you know what? For example, I had a client one, good client. Everything that I created for them, every flyer I did for them, I went into his office one time. Just about everything I designed for him, he had it on his wall.
Oh, wow.
And I was in his office. I'm like, man, this looks good. It looked like a gallery. And I said, oh, okay, that's what's up. So I want to. That's the type of work I aspire to keep doing, where it's not just I just did a logo or a flyer. I want this to be almost like, man, this looks good, even though it doesn't matter about it being out of date because it's a flyer. This looks so good, man. I need to preserve this some kind of way. That's what I want the client to feel. Whether they do it or not, that's one thing. But be like, man, this looks so good, man. I can hang this on my wall and tell people about it. That's the goal. And so I want to, and then I also want to be like, this is gonna sound crazy, the Salt Bay dude, the dude that does
the meme.
What I mean is a lot of people cook steak. And things that there are a lot of chefs out there. But what makes him so special? I mean, that's all he's doing. I mean, at the end of the day, he's making a pound of meat, eating well. That's how I like mine. And he's, and he puts some salt on it. But what makes him so special though? And so what makes him so special is he's an artist.
Right.
He doesn't just cut the meat. He does some. He has a special way he does it. He doesn't just put salt on your steak. He got the little thing. He got his little symbol. but people gravitate to that, and so I want to be the Salt Bay of web design.
I feel you.
So to speak. Yeah,
that's perfect. That needs to be the logo right there. Well, and let me. All right. So I know people might be laughing or whatnot, but here's the reality. This is what it is. What he's doing is he's putting finishing salt on the food.
Right.
All the stuff beforehand, where he's doing all the show and stuff. That's element. That's the ceremonial is for show, right? But behind the scenes in the kitchen, he cut that meat a certain way. Before it got to the point where he even cut it, it was aged a specific way. It was their specific blend of whatever they put on to age the meat. It's seasoned a specific way. It's prepared a certain way And so his entire presentation is here's the finishing salt that makes this unique, that you're not going to get anywhere else. The salt is going to be the thing that accents this piece to make it a masterpiece. It comes out masterful. The salt makes it a masterpiece. And that's the concept behind it. So
that's what I want to do, man.
Cool. The Salt Bay of web design. I'll roll with that one. All right. So we talked about who your ideal client is. We talked about what makes you stand out from the competition. What do you most enjoy about what you do?
I love being creative. The creative aspect of it. That's the biggest part of it. When I'm able to just, throw on my headphones, listen to some old Jay-Z, whatever, and just zone out and design, that's heaven for me.
Okay.
I truly love what I do. I love, especially when I'm not, because, life brings about a lot of distractions. And one thing I'm learning to do is value my time and value my focus. And so when I can just focus on the work, this is why, and this is for me, this ain't for everybody, but this is why I get most of my work done when everybody else is asleep. Because during the day, I get some work done during the day, but during the day, wife, kids, whatever, there's always something. I had to go here. I left my trumpet at the band hall. Okay, I need to go pick that up. There's always something. And so over the years, what I've done was I set my schedule up where, after dinner and everything's kind of winding down, that's when I get to work. And so a lot of times I will work, most nights, this ain't good for everybody, but for me, most nights I don't get to bed till like 2:00 in the morning. And that's normal. And then when I'm really cooking, like on the weekends, if I know I don't have anything to do on a Saturday morning, I may be up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But it's one of those things where this is my passion.
Right.
I love it. I love creating stuff. I love coming up with new ideas. And when I get zone, and sometimes I'm just in the zone and I'm just boom, boom. And so that's like the biggest thing for what I do that I love. And then the other thing is just as a business owner, I like the independence. I like the autonomy I have. I can set my own schedule. So it allows me to do things like that. If I need to stay up to 2, and if I want to get up at 11, that's what I do.
Right.
If I don't want to take any calls today, I'm not going to take any. It's just, it's just one of those, when I was a teacher, I couldn't do that. Everything was planned out for me. Hey, you have to be here at 7 o'clock. You got to be on due for this. You got to turn in your lesson plans. Even though school is out at 3:30, teachers can't leave until 4. All this type of stuff. I still remember all those things, and I really couldn't control what I wanted to do. Even to the point, at one point, they was telling us, you can't go, you can't leave campus to get you, go get lunch. You had to order lunch and have to come to the school, and lunch break. It was just. And for me, that bothered me. Some people, they were cool with it. They were like, whatever, because, that's what they wanted to do. But for me, I wanted to have more freedom to move around, just do regular stuff that I wanted to do. And it's been great in a sense, it's been great for my family, because my wife knows anytime she needs something, it's not going to be a hassle for me to do it.
Right.
If I got to do something for the kids, and that's why I say during the day, it's a lot of distraction, but at the same time, it's good for them because I'm always available, and like I said, I get most of my work done at night anyway. So, when everything's settled down, I can still get my work done. So those are the two biggest things for me that I really enjoy about my job.
All right. Yeah. So I'll ask you this, and we'll kind of start wrapping it up. Um, so what is, this is kind of a little bit off the script, but I think it's one of the questions. I think, what is a marketing tip that you can give somebody looking to get into the game?
Are you speaking specifically for what I do, or just in business in general?
Let's do both. You know,
Okay.
one for your specific, one for the specific industry, and then one, that's kind of a general one.
Well, I would say in general. Well, let's say for the industry, I would say number one, you do have to know, you do have to have some skills, and so I mean, it's kind of hard to be a web designer or a graphic designer if you are not keen in design. If
Yeah.
you don't have any artistic skills, and I'm being very basic with this part of it. So in essence, make sure that you got the chops to do this type of work. If you don't have an eye for it, then you may need to do something else. So you need to be good at what you do. Uh, and so especially in this line of work, it's all about presentation. And I discussed that, even with my camera. But anyway, that's another story. But everything that I put out there, I want it to look good. So that's the. I mean, for me, that's like, I don't know, 80% of the whole thing. Because even when I do a website, technically the most important part of a website is the functionality of it. Technically, but if it doesn't look inviting, if it doesn't look good, I mean, people are not going to hire you. So if you want to get into web design, you do have to have some type of artistic abilities. Even if because I know some guys, they specialize in coding.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good friend, my main guy, Marcus. I mean, he does. I mean, he does design, but his specialty is coding. And so you got some people that's all they do. So what they would do is they would, link up with guys like me who, basically can make everything look good, put in a nice package. But the inner workings of it is what they did, to make it function the way it needs to function. And so, yeah, you want to get in this, make sure you know what you're doing. In general, from a general sense, marketing wise, I would say be consistent in anything. I know one thing I try to do, I'm not perfect at it, but I try to post something of my work every day, if possible.
Okay.
Right now, I'm at about 4 or 5 times a week, but I'm, any little thing I do, I try to post it, because what happens is sometimes when you post something, you never know. I mean, people are always watching. And so even if they don't like your post, they see it. And
Right.
I figured that out a while ago from Facebook stories. So I noticed that when I post something in my timeline, I may only get like 3 or 4 likes. But in the stories, they show you everybody that saw it. And
Right.
it's like 100 people, and I'm saying, oh, okay, so people are seeing my stuff. They're just not reacting to it. And so that taught me to keep putting stuff out there. And what that would do for you is, whether you know it or not, you're creating nice exposure for yourself, because when somebody does need something, you've been in their mind so much until you're the person they call. Because I used to think it's almost like the way I think about McDonald's and Coca-Cola. You would think by now everybody knows who McDonald's and Coca-Cola is, but yeah, they spend millions of dollars a year on marketing. Why? Because there's going to be a time when you're not thinking about McDonald's and you're just sitting back watching TV. Say, oh, McReal. You know what? Hey, honey, let's go. Here, a couple of McReal. They back on, they back on the shelf. So
Round up the kids.
yeah, round up the kid, let's go. Or call, Uber Eats or whatever. So that's what it's a reminder thing, because people tend to forget. And so sometimes I heard somebody say something like, sometimes you have to post something 13 times. A person has to see something 13 times before it really clicks in their head of what you're posting about.
Right.
I don't know how true that is, but I get the concept. So my thing is, let me just keep putting LP in their face every day, as much as I can. Boom, boom. They may not say anything today. They may say something next month. Cool. I may need that. I don't need it right now. I may need it next month because I may be in a slow time. They call me and say, "Hey, Les, I need this $3,000." Boom.
Well, and it kind of goes into what that real estate dude that's everywhere on YouTube.
Cardone?
Yeah, Cardone.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things he talks about is not really worrying about being liked. He just wants to notoriety. And I get it. And from a marketing standpoint, what that does is if people get sick of you, they're not your audience anyway. And so they're going to opt out. Or they may get sick of your message. They love you to death, but they don't want to see your stuff anymore. They'll self-select out of your services. And so if you use the social media to constantly put your stuff out there on a consistent basis, once a day, twice a week, once a week, whatever it is on your consistent schedule, the people that will mess with you are going to continue to invest in you, right? The people that wouldn't normally invest in you are like, I'm tired of such and such. They're going to self-select anyway. They're going to opt out anyway. And so then that's one less person you got to deal with, even your social circle in real life and also in your business circle. So put it out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No,
I thought about, I don't know, this may be a little off subject. I thought about something that we mentioned off air. I was getting ready to tell you an example of a client that something I'm dealing with even right now. And I want to preface by saying that basically what you want to do is you want to be careful with who you go into business with. As much as possible. A lot of times it comes with experience, being able to find those little red flags. You say, "Oh, okay, yeah, this may not be a good fit." And you have to be careful with that because once you get into an agreement with this person, whatever, you're kind of married to them in a sense.
Yeah. No, so all right. Yeah. So Les, how can they? What's the best way to reach you, man?
All right, so yeah, my website is on the screen, LesIsMorePro.com. You can also find me on IG at LesIsMore Photos. If you type in my name, Leslie Howard, you'll get me easily on Facebook. Facebook is a nice little mixture. I post a lot of family stuff on there as well as business. But my website and my Instagram, that's where you will find the bulk of my portfolio work. And so just hit me up. I'm here.
Right. And if you guys are reaching out to Les for any business or anything, I'm going to tell you straight up, allow Les to cook. Tell him what you want. Tell him what you're looking for. Maybe give some reference points, but then you got to let the chef cook. You have to allow them you got to let them work on the dish. And so a little sprinkle salt on it, and
that's it, man.
And but it's one of those things where you're actually hiring an artist, and that's the concept. It's different when you're hiring somebody who's just doing something for a straight up service. You're hiring an artist, and you got to allow artists to create. And you can't put too many constraints on what they create. Now you can give guidance, and if it doesn't match, then that's what it is. But at the same time, give an artist time and space to create, and you might be pleased with what the canvas shows at the end of the day. Yes, so, sir. All right, you see the email at the bottom. Make sure if you have any questions regarding Les. Oh, real quick, give me your products or services, man. What's your product and service menu?
All right, so we got web design. We have logo design, of course. Print media, which consists of anything that can be printed or anything that can be digitally placed somewhere, social media. So I do social media postcards, and I do physical postcards, door hangers, banners. I've done designs that have been on billboards. You know, if you need something designed that need to be draped on the side of a building, I got you. You know, signage. You know, I do those type of designs. So anything that can be designed, I'm here. And so when you think about it, you know, one of the good things about my business is there's always a need for that type of thing because everywhere you look, there's design.
Right.
Literally, every commercial, a Coca-Cola can, they had to be designed. And so, you know, so the thing is, there's always room for that. And I'm just saying this for aspiring designers. In my opinion, this is a great field to get into. There's always going to be work, especially if you're good.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and two things. The way I put it is the digital landscape is Les's canvas. So call with questions
Right.
and make sure you have a budget in mind. Um,
There you go.
the other side is I can attest to what we were talking about earlier, where if you're gonna jump into this design game, have an idea of what your stuff is gonna look like. Have an idea that you can have a minimum level of competency with doing it. Because I tipped my toe. And Les was there earlier when I started out. I tried to tip my toe into trying to design somebody's web page, and really quick found out I didn't have neither the eye nor the patience.
Yeah, it's meticulous, man. It's tedious.
To get into the website design thing, and you know, it was instructive to kind of watch how Les operates and things like that. And so I realized pretty quick that the web design of websites was not for me. You know, I design them for me. I just I can put
Right.
something. I don't use not even design. I can buy a template site and put something together online for me. But if you want to pay me for that, we gonna refer you over to Les. He can help you out with that stuff. So that's what's the business, y'all. I appreciate your time and attention, Les. Thank you for popping on. We gonna follow this up.
Thank you for having me, man. You know, I don't take this for granted, so I appreciate you putting me on.
All right. We're going to follow this up because I feel like there's some kind of creative podcast, something brewing that we could absolutely do. So stay tuned for that. As you see, Mail at I Sell Words is scrolling across the bottom. If you have any marketing questions or anything, that's where you can hit us up. I Sell Words is my business. What I do is I help people decide what they're going to do online, how they're going to promote their business, whether it be video podcasting, what you're doing right now, traditional podcasting, get you on the major platforms, or YouTubing. And so for business owners, I encourage every single one of you to have something out there, because you never know how long that tail actually goes. So that's what I got. I will holler at y'all later. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your time and attention. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Peace.